Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show 152 today. It is Friday, September 22nd. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
There's some excitement around this show. It has been a wild ass week. It wasn't supposed to be a wild and crazy week. I mean, like we started off by we finished last week off with your Note 8 written review, and then the video portion went up on Tuesday morning. And then like an hour after the video review went up, all hell broke loose. Google reveal of everything by us. So if you guys missed Tuesday, it was a pretty good day. So again, we started the day with the Note 8 video review, and then we went through a series of posts where we showed you essentially what we think is everything that Google will unveil on their October 4th event. So yeah, we showed you Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL, the Google Home Mini, the Google Pixelbook, and even a new Daydream View headset, along with pricing, colors, that sort of thing, storage amounts in the phones and things like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. What was funny is we were talking about the other day how like all of a sudden Apple Watch Series 3 reviews were out. And I think those happened on or iPhone 8 reviews. One of the two happened, I think, on the day that all of that's Google stuff that we revealed. So I like none of us even noticed. Like I don't even know that it was in headlines like those products at that time. Pretty fun.
Pretty much took over the internet.
It kind of did take over the internet for a day, which was fun. Outside of that stuff, other huge news. Okay, I guess it's not as huge as we thought it was going to be, but Google and HTC are doing some sort of cooperation. Google did not buy HTC, which people had been speculating for quite some time. They spent a lot of money on talent. We'll talk more about that. It's just I still am trying to wrap my head around what exactly Google's doing there. But Google Assistant headphones are official and you can buy them now. We got a first Android One phone in the US that also happens to work on Project Fi. Nest announced a whole bunch of stuff. And then there's just other stuff going on. So lots and lots of stuff. So thanks for joining us again. Episode 152. It's Friday. Let's dive into this. So obviously we want to start with all of the Google stuff. So we've had rumors for weeks and months now, right? About Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL. And Tim and I have to admit that we were wrong on the Pixel 2 XL name. We've been calling it Pixel XL2 because I think we just liked the way that looked better. But the official name is Pixel 2 XL, not Pixel XL2, which makes sense. It just looks kind of weird, I think. So Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL, Google Home Mini, and I believe that is the official name as well. Google Pixelbook, which is, for those who remember some of the first Chromebooks that Google made, they were called Google Chromebook or Google Chromebook Pixel. They were really high-end, expensive Chromebooks that showed off potential future features like touch screens and super high-res display, all that stuff. So the Google Pixelbook will be the third version in that series, if you want to call it that. Very similar design, style, all of that, but not a Chromebook Pixel anymore, a Pixelbook, which makes sense, combining the two. And then new Daydream View will briefly touch on that. But anyway, let's talk about the Pixel stuff, right? The phones, since these are the big deal. So we believe that the Pixel 2 will come in 3 colors. Kind of blue, which is kind of like it's like a powder blue. I don't know how you explain kind of blue. It's kind of blue. It's not like blue like we saw last year. So kind of blue, just black and clearly white. So you'll have blue, black, and white models. There will be 64 gig and 128 gig storage options, and the prices there are $649 and $749. So those prices are exactly like we saw last year, except they're giving you more storage, and that's awesome. 64 gig base storage on a phone that doesn't have SD slots is pretty important. The Pixel phones I have are all 32 gigs last year, and they're basically all full. Like my wife's 32 gig from last year is full as well, so 64 gig is a good starting point. The phone backside looks like what we thought. It's got a little glass panel up top, single camera, no dual camera, Google logo, fingerprint reader. What we don't have is the front pictures of the phones, but those have kind of leaked here and there, so we kind of have an idea. As far as the Pixel 2 XL, it is going to come in a black and white. That's actually the color. Black and white is the colorway, or just black. So just black obviously is all black. Black and white is it's hot. Everyone's referring to it as the Panda phone. I think I've seen some people refer to it as Stormtrooper, but essentially the glass panel up top is black, and then the rest of the whole body on the back is white, and then there's an orange power button, which is kind of a cool little accent there. In terms of size here, we got 64 and 128 gig storage again. Starting price of $849, and then a jump up to $949. So the era of $1,000 phones is well on its way to being here officially forever, I do believe. That's pretty much it. It's like we didn't reveal any more specs or anything like that. We don't have that info, but I mean the specs have been leaking off and on for a while now. I don't have any reason to question any of the previous leaks, but no blue model of the Pixel 2 XL, which is kind of sad.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, yeah, as far as we know. So yeah, what do you think? I mean, you saw these. We got pictures of them, pricing, storage. Like, are you disappointed by any of that information? Cool with that? Everything look perfect?
Everything seems to be lining up very well, at least in my eyes. You know, I see some people, they're in love with the Panda. They really like the contrast with that orange button going on. And I agree with them. Like, I think it's really cool. Like, I mean, the just black is cool, but it's just sort of plain. You know, we've had plain just black phones, you know, forever. So switching it up with a black and white with an orange button, it just looks cool. The phone looks cool to me. Yeah, I am a little upset about things that we pretty much already knew. We knew that it probably wasn't going to have a dual camera. So womp womp, cry me a river. I mean, what are you going to do? The single sensor that it does have is sure to be awesome. So I don't know why everyone's too worried that there's not going to be a dual camera. I mean, what, do they want the price to be even more than what it's already going to be? So, and that's another thing. It does start, you know, according to what we saw at $849. That's expensive. And I'm talking about the Pixel 2 XL here.
Yep.
That is expensive, but I don't know what else people were expecting, right? The days of cheap Nexus devices and plastic bodies is done. Google wants to take its hardware seriously, and I'm all for that, because anything that will compete against the iPhone in terms of quality, hardware quality, and software quality, I think is important. And I realize that almost $1,000 is a lot of money, but that's just the way things are. And you can lease devices, and they can do trade-ins. I mean, there's plenty of ways to bring that price down over time. So, and you can do monthly payments, all that good stuff. So I don't know if the price should really be too much of a concern. You know, if you're really into Android phones and you've been with us since the OG days, you'll just know that there's always been an increase. That's just the way it is. So as technology is getting better, I mean, these phones are supposed to pretty much have everything, just like every other Android phone out right now. It just is what it is. Now, you asked me if I am happy, or, you know, I'm definitely happy with what I've seen so far. I have no reason to complain.
Just give us that Panda phone.
Yeah, just give me the Panda phone.
It's so hot.
Yeah, I will say the kind of blue Pixel 2, not a fan of. It looks kind of gray to me. Like, it just, maybe in the render we saw. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of blue, kind of gray.
Kind of like slate. Yeah, powder blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Nexus 5X color that was out, which I just wasn't a fan of in general. So
one thing we don't know is what the front of any of these phones looks like. You know, like
for sure,
this Pixel, it has a white front, and we don't know if any of these do. My guess, like gut tells me that all these, well, I don't know about the regular Pixel 2, but the Pixel 2 XL, I'm just expecting it'll have a black front, because it's going to be kind of like this, the V30. And when you go all display front, I just feel like you have to go black top and bottom, because it just blends in better and just looks better. Like, can you imagine if this V30 had a white top and bottom? Like, that would just look goofy. So I think the Panda version will just be an all black front, so it'll be even better looking than probably we're imagining. The regular Pixel 2, I don't know what color, you know, like even last year, Google with the blue version. I think you have a blue Pixel, don't you? It's got that ugly white front on it.
Well, I like the blue front with the blue.
Like,
Like
you do like the blue with the white
yeah,
front?
if this phone had a black front with the blue back, that would just it wouldn't look good to me.
Look right, yeah. It wouldn't be smurfed out.
Yeah, I gotta have that Smurf.
Gotta have that smurf. So I don't know what they'll do with the regular Pixel 2, but yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I think the pricing's in line with about what we expected. Last year, the Pixel XL 32 gig started at $769, and then the 128 gig jumped up to $869. So at 64 gig, you're obviously going to be above that $769 price. Only $80 more for double the storage of last year's. But like design wise, right, we're getting an all display front. So they're obviously packing more tech. It should be water resistant. So you're not getting a massive price hike over last year by any means. I wouldn't necessarily say, if you think about the added storage and the new technology that's gone into it. But otherwise, yeah, there's not much else to say. Just we'll see it all obviously on October 4th, and I think we're excited for sure.
Yeah, I just want to address something that's going on in the chat.
Oh boy.
That Tech is Amazing is talking about. He's saying Forbes leaks the front of the Pixel 2. That's just it's not true. The render that they're using is all the way back from like early August or maybe even late July that we saw that render of the front. That's how we think we know what the front will look like, with sort of an edge-to-edge display. And then the back, they just have the stuff that we posted on Tuesday. So Forbes does not have any new information.
Forbes really turned into a pretty terrible clickbait site these days, like really badly.
Yeah. So what you can do is you can always, when you see an image like that, you right-click it and say, search Google for this image. And you'll find that same image from months ago posted on any number of sites. So, yes.
Did somebody link to that in the chat? Oh, yeah, they did.
Yeah, they linked.
Oh, yeah. It's, look, I don't know who Gordon Kelly is, but he essentially that's what he may be a great dude. I don't know, but he's become known, I would say, as a guy who writes for Forbes and just uses some of the worst clickbaity titles ever.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, they at least cited us in the post. So,
well, that was nice of them. So
that's good. So, yeah. Anyway, forget Forbes. They don't do pixel leaks like us.
That is not. Yeah. I mean, it says right under the picture, based on latest leaks. It's a render from concept creator. Like it says where it's from.
Yeah. So there you go.
So there you go. All right. So Pixel 2 XL. We got
so exciting, dude.
2 weeks. Less than 2 weeks away until the official reveal there.
Like 13 days.
Yeah. So next up, we had the Google Home Mini. So this has actually been rumored that just like a week or two ago that there was going to be a smaller Google Home. We didn't know what it was called, what it was going to look like. We now know it's called Google Home Mini. It also, we believe, the day after we revealed this thing that it passed through the FCC. So it's on its way. It just looks like a little soft puck. It doesn't really look like a bigger Google Home, other than just kind of the design style, right? It's kind of got that cloth upper, little base on it. It comes in 3 colors: charcoal, chalk, and coral. Really on the C's there, Google. Looks like some LED lights up on top, and it should cost just $49, which is a pretty good deal. Like the bigger Google Home is $129, which is already a good deal. At $49, you're kind of around that Amazon Echo Dot price point, which has already been like one of the best deals in tech. Like if you wanted a voice assistant in your house, like the Echo Dot was always such a good buy. So now you'll have the Google version at basically that same price of $49.
I'm cool with Google Home Mini. Like I get the idea. It's totally awesome. But for me, who's someone who's like a bit more saturated in the Google sphere, I will use one day, when the heavens part and all this stuff, my Shield TV from NVIDIA will have Google Assistant, and NVIDIA will release Spot that I can simply plug into power outlets throughout the rooms in my home. And I'll just have everything kind of controlled through that. Like I don't want to have multiple Google Home Minis throughout the house.
And everywhere, yeah.
Yeah, so
I already have multiple Google Homes everywhere, from like LG giving them away for free when you bought like the G6. I think I got something from I think I got one at I/O this year. Didn't we get one at I/O this year?
Yeah.
So we got like So they're just kind of everywhere in my house already. So I probably won't be buying any of these little mini things, but I'm with you. It'd be much nicer to have a little spot just plugged in. Like I'm thinking like in my bathroom, it would be nice to have one plugged into an outlet in my bathroom. So I don't have to have a corded like Google Home in there. So
exactly.
I'm with you. But these do make sense. Like if you don't already have a bunch of Google Homes or any at all, and you want to have one like in your bedroom, in your office, your kitchen, like you can buy 3 of these for essentially the price of one bigger Google Home. And I wonder actually if they'll do that like a 3-pack for the price of Google Home. It would be smart for Google to do something like that.
That would be smart.
I think Amazon does sell them in 3-packs. So yeah, coral, chalk, and charcoal.
Yeah, it's a cute little button ball cloth thing. Looks cool.
Yeah, and we believe that they are wired and powered that way, not wireless. Like you can't take them everywhere. So
it does appear to be wired. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, and again, that passed through the FCC this week under Google's FCC ID, unlike the Pixel 2 and Pixel 2 XL, which were under HTC and LG's, since HTC and LG are making those ones. In kind of crazy news, though, we revealed the Pixelbook. So this had been rumored a couple weeks ago too, that Google was possibly working on a new Chromebook Pixel device, which is a high-end Chromebook from Google, and yeah, it's called the Pixelbook, which is kind of cool, and it falls just in line with the Chromebook Pixel line. Starts at $1,200 for 128 gig storage. There will be also 256 gig and 512 gig storage options, and those prices jump up to then $1,400 and then $1,750. So, I mean, we're talking expensive, like MacBook type pricing for a Chromebook, which is, I think a lot of people still aren't ready to pay that much money for a Chromebook, and I totally get that. This one will fold; it's fully convertible. Will fold back into being a tablet. There's also a pen accessory called the Pixelbook Pen, which will cost $100. I don't believe that the Pixelbook Pen is shipping with it. I think it's a sold separately accessory, but it's a $100 Google branded pen, pressure sensitive and all of that stuff. So if you want to get down and write on a tablet, your Pixelbook, you can totally do that. But that's a lot of money. So I have both Chromebook Pixels. Like my wife has the old one and I have the new one. I think I bought the new one. The old one, I think we got at Google I/O like years ago, right? So her and I still use them. So that was like 2000, I think 13 and 15, I think were the years those came out, or 14 and 15, something like that. We both still use those and they still run like champs because they have solid state storage or just flash storage or something like that in them. And at the time they put, Google tried to put in as much stuff as they could. They have touchscreens, all that. They're actually still great. I don't know that I can say that about my MacBook Pro, which is about the same age, I think, as the Chromebook Pixel that she uses. So as much as that price is shocking for a Chromebook, like her and I, when I'm not sitting at my desktop like this and I'm working in the living room or upstairs in my house or wherever, I go to the Chromebook Pixel because I use Chrome for most things, and it has Android app accessibility now. So there are some apps I can use, and it's still a beast. Like the battery lasts a long time. The display's great. It has a touchscreen if I want. Like I think it's an amazing laptop, but $1,750 is a lot for a Chromebook.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but what you're talking about does not sound worth $1,200+ to me,
Yeah, so my justification, I would say, is like hers is like 3 years old and it still just hums along. It's still a great laptop. The thing is, like, it is still a Chromebook, so there is limitations there. It does run Android apps now, although actually I don't know if hers does. I can't remember if hers does. I haven't looked, but mine does run Android apps and it runs them fine. So I don't know. Like, part of me thinks it's kind of cool. The convertible thing, I don't know, because I don't really care about tablets, so that doesn't influence me at all. But the design is kind of sweet. Like, it's totally Google Pixel style branded with like a white bottom plate and the G logo and stuff. It totally looks like it belongs in the Pixel family, which is cool.
I'm sure it'll be awesome. I just don't see any normal person doing that. I mean, everyone would say, "Oh, just get a MacBook." I mean, because it could do that and so much more.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I'm with you on that. Well, and like Samsung, right? They have their Chromebook Pro or whatever the hell it's called, which does all of this, and then some, and it's like $600, I think. Like, it's not gonna.
It's
It's
got
not.
an S Pen.
Yeah, and it comes with a pen, or you can. I think it might come with the pen. I don't even think you have to buy it separately like you do here.
It's like just like a Note 8. It's in the body.
Yeah. Is it the Chromebook Plus or the Chromebook Pro, or is there
It's
those
both of
two
those.
different things?
There's two of them.
Yeah. So the Plus, which has the pen in the body, is $450, and Google's like, yeah, we want like $1,400. Tough buy there.
Tough sell.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
but again, it'll be sweet. Just do you really want to spend?
Yes, it will be awesome. I
Maybe
like
they'll
that.
have a big update for Chrome OS, and or at the event, maybe they'll have a new announcement surrounding Android app compatibility, and they'll make it awesome.
That has taken so long, though. I mean, we were talking about this whole thing being a beta in the dev channel like a year plus ago. Like, it has been maybe even longer. Like, that was like 2 IOs ago, I feel like.
Yeah, so 2 IOs, I remember I sat in a special like unannounced Chrome session that they only let press into, and it was to announce Android. So yeah, that was 2 IOs ago. So we're a year and a few months, a year and a half into the Chrome OS Android beta experience. And I don't know that it's gotten that much better. A lot of the problem is the apps, just right. Like none of these developers are making their apps ready for it.
But they aren't required to either. Like, I mean, there needs to be like the return on their time, like investment. And I just don't know if they see that. I don't know if the numbers, Google's numbers, I mean, they would be able to show the fragmentation of users and how many are using it on a Chromebook, blah, blah, blah. And is it just worth it? Probably not.
I would think so, just because
unless it's an
Google
education app. It's got to be an education app.
Yeah, so Google sells tons of Chromebooks, I think, at this point, because they're so affordable, and especially like you said in the education field for schools and things like that. So I would think it would be worth it to get your apps on there. Like educational games, image editing apps. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff I think that makes a lot of sense for it, but I don't know that we've necessarily seen it. So, but the Pixelbook though, it looks cool. It's just really expensive. All right, so and then finally the new Daydream View, we revealed that as well. So just 3 new colors, slight tweak to the design, and a price bump from $79 to $99. So what does that mean? Like, does that mean the optics on the inside are going to present a better picture? Why a price hike on there? Because the design just kind of looks the same. Maybe the controller's better somehow, because this isn't the standalone Google VR headset that may come from HTC, or was it Lenovo building one later on. This is just like the regular Daydream View, only $20 more expensive.
Yeah, hard to say why. I mean, Samsung seems to. I mean, I guess I have to assume the hardware is better somehow, right? Because I mean, Samsung has justified $100 for the Gear VR for years now. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Google's looking to up their margins a little bit. I don't know.
Could be, and we don't really have any details on this thing other than we believe it'll cost $99 and has slightly different design. It comes in 3 colors.
That's pretty much the extent of what we know. Yeah. But it's cool. You know, I actually booted up my Daydream View just yesterday because I was testing it on the Galaxy Note 8. It works great. I still think it's a really good experience for the price, $79. You know, I mean, it's not a bad experience whatsoever. And like the apps are getting really good for it. Although I still get sick, and that will never change. So I'm just not a VR guy.
VR just don't really play well together. Yeah, I think it is actually a pretty slick experience for $79. Like, you already have the phone, so as long as it's Daydream compatible, picking up it seems like a no-brainer accessory. Even if you aren't a gamer, there's like videos you can consume. There's other interactive experiences and stuff. Like, if you ever want to just dabble in VR, Daydream View is kind of like the way to get started, I think. Unless Samsung will hand you a free one, which they may do.
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, the first thing I checked out is I opened up this app called Next VR because they made some announcement where they're streaming this, music festival in New York. And the first thing that it showed me was like, hey, you get a recap of the NBA finals. And that was awesome. Like, I mean, you're literally like on the basket watching these dudes play. You actually get a good feel for like how tall these dudes are, like how big they are. And like, just, it was crazy. Like, I felt like I was there. Yeah. And which is not, I don't say that lightly, because I think a lot of VR experiences are total crap.
Yeah, a lot more.
But this one was pretty good. I was impressed.
Was
So
the like display quality or the picture quality nice? Because I always find like a lot of videos end up just looking terrible. Like, and if there's people involved, you can barely make out their faces and stuff.
the overall quality was good. I mean, that's always going to be limited, I feel like, by the display itself.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was fine. Like I can make out Katie's face just fine. Like I can make out all the players on the court. Like, and it was cool just the angles they give you, right? Because you would never see that on TV or something. So it was just
That is sweet.
it was immersive.
So immersive.
Yeah.
Oh. So that was that was our Tuesday.
I want to say Rashad in the chat says, I use Daydream View while on flights to watch movies. Yeah, and you know what? I'm sure everyone around you really appreciates that just because like you're in your own little world. And so like if I'm sitting next to someone and he's on this little VR thing doing his thing, like that's great. Just make sure you got your headphones on and all that. Like not everyone wants to hear whatever it is you're watching.
Yeah.
Like, but you
That's
can really
not a bad idea because it's small enough. You could pack that in a bag.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you just zone out in your own little world. I think that's great.
Not
So
just burn through battery like crazy though. I guess you can plug in on most planes these days.
yeah.
Huh. It's not a bad idea actually.
I bet I know one Android blogger who like does that religiously. I'm not gonna name drop, but I know people do that.
That makes sense. Good thinking.
Yeah, good job.
So yeah, that was the week of Google product reveals on Droid Life. It was fun.
That was a big week, dude. Congrats.
But the news didn't stop there. It's been just a Google week. So on, I guess it was Wednesday morning. I think it was Wednesday morning. The Taiwan Stock Exchange and HTC both said they were halting trading of HTC shares because they had a big announcement to make. And so everyone then went, "Oh, that's because Google's buying them." And so for most of the day, everyone ran with Google's buying them, Google's buying them, Google's buying them. And then that night, Wednesday night, HTC and Google announced exactly what they were doing, and Google's not buying HTC like on any level that we know of. They announced a cooperation agreement, I believe is what they called it. Oh,
Uh-oh.
oh, okay. I think is that Google or was that Amazon? Oh, they're both in here. Anyway, they announced a cooperation agreement, a $1.1 billion cooperation agreement, I should say. So Google's not buying HTC smartphone division, which a lot of people said they would. What they are doing is acquiring like 2,000 engineers, essentially, is what's mostly being reported. I don't know that they actually confirmed that in either press release, but a lot of people are suggesting that it's 2,000 engineers and most of which worked on the Pixel phones. So for those who don't understand that, Google hired HTC to build Pixel phones for them last year, Pixel and Pixel XL, and they hired them to do it again this year, make the Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL, and then for whatever reason, mid not production, but early stages, can't think of the damn word for it, Google then cut HTC from making the Pixel 2 XL and hired LG to make the Pixel 2 XL. So kind of weird, but anyways, for 2 years now, HTC has helped Google build Pixel phones. And so Google now is, instead of letting those people be HTC employees, all those people are now Google employees. What's also included in the deal is a non-exclusive license for HTC intellectual property. So they don't even have an exclusive on HTC. It is a weird deal. I've seen a lot of people suggest that, oh, now it's Google being really serious about making phones and taking on Apple. And like these people also said this last year when Google was just contracting with HTC to build. Like in a way, nothing has really changed. They didn't buy HTC. They didn't buy their factories. They didn't buy their IP. They just have a non-exclusive license to use it. They bought talent. Supposedly only bought talent for 1.1 billion. And they're kind of in the same situation, except these people are now Google employees. Am I missing something here?
No, you're not. According to what we know, and from what HTC and Google has said, that's it. The only thing changing is Google's headcount, and really that's it. From what we can tell,
$1 billion.
Must be some really talented people.
I mean, I don't think they can like kind of hide maybe some other intentions and stuff because this has to go through approval. Like this isn't just a done deal. But what else is there? There has to be something. So even if you break down like just simple math, right? 1.1 billion divided by 2,000 engineers, that's an average salary of $500,000 or something like that, right? I mean, I don't know how, like that's just the really simplest math. Or I guess that's just say you're spending $500,000 per employee. That's nuts. And maybe they're worth that to a company. I don't think any of these people are making that much money, but like, it's just, it feels like there's more. So like my prediction right after this was announced is that Google's going to I should touch on this first. So HTC also announced that they are still making HTC branded phones. That's the other piece of this. Okay. So Google bought a whole bunch of employees that make smartphones for HTC, but HTC says, no, we're still going to make at least one. We don't know if beyond, but they're still going to make another flagship phone, which they're already working on as a follow-up to the HTC U11. And then after that, we don't necessarily know. But HTC is still sticking around. They're still making phones. They're still doing Vive. So anyway, my prediction is that Google's just going to let them make one more phone because it's already probably almost done. And then they're just going to like buy them out or something. Because otherwise, I don't get what the hell this is all about.
Yeah, I saw it purely as just a way for HTC to get bailed out because we have known about their monetary issues now for what feels like years. I think it has been years. Google is bailing out HTC because they can't afford to lose them, as a vendor of the Android OS, and it allows HTC to keep making phones that no one's buying. So it seems like a losing battle for HTC, man. I mean, what phone could they possibly put out? Even one just got rumored, which I don't know if we're going to talk about today, but it just sounds like a phone that, again, no one will be interested really in if it's going up against the best from Samsung or Google's new Pixel phones. Like, it's a losing endeavor for HTC, man.
Yeah, so that's the other thing, right? Like you just said, it seems like Google's like, all right, HTC, you've been losing lots of money and you've been working with us. We really appreciate it. And we'll take on a bunch of your employees and we don't want you to go away. So here's like $1 billion just to like stay afloat for a while. It kind of feels like that, like just stay afloat for a little while longer while we work through this and we'll buy you out, the rest of you out soon. Or maybe when your value is even lower, then we'll buy you out and then you can decide if you want to keep Vive or not. Like it feels like that's where we're getting. And that's why I say like they're going to let them make this one last phone and then they'll just buy the rest of HTC's smartphone division or whatever. Because otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. Like, and I don't know how many people it takes to make a smartphone, but Sean in the chat says, why does it take 2,000 engineers to make a smartphone? I don't know. That seems like a lot of engineers making a smartphone. I know it doesn't take like 10 to make a smartphone, but 2,000 engineers were really working on the Pixel phones.
Yeah.
It seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree. The fact that, I mean, it said that they want to reinvest that money back into R&D or to do these things that they've been doing that has been losing them money for years now. It just seems odd. Like if I was an investor in HTC, I'd be like, okay, we just got the lifeboat, like Google just came in and saved us. And yet we're going to just continue to do the stuff that's not working. Like I just don't get it.
Well, I haven't looked at their financial statements in a while, but couldn't they? I mean, how much money have they lost in the last couple of years? Is it like $1 billion? Like, like, some companies lose that much money in like a quarter. So
I thought they were losing like hundreds of millions every quarter.
That's what I thought too. So $1 billion doesn't really get you that far if you're just continuing to just shed cash every single 3 months. So, and look, you're going to invest in R&D, except Google just bought 2,000 of your best employees. So who the hell's left in the smartphone division to continue to research and develop anything? There's obviously they're not telling us everything. I think that much is like, that's the takeaway, right? Like here's some cash. We're going to bring on some talent. We'll figure the rest out later. Because otherwise, what the hell? A cooperation agreement? Get out of here. And no, I don't think this changes anything. Like in terms of like, oh, now Google's really making their own stuff. No, they're not. They just brought in engineers. That's all they did.
That was the one thing that really annoyed me about it when I see people on Twitter saying, oh, yep, Google just got serious and they can compete with Apple and they just bought HTC hardware. But like, what?
The laziest like take ever.
It's just not what happens at
That's
all.
not what happened at all. According to these two press releases, that is not what happened.
It's probably something that we'll have to develop and unfold over time, sort of like what we saw from, Google. I mean, from their purchase of Motorola. I mean, maybe something will come of it, even though it doesn't really seem like anything came of that either. They lost a ton of money when they purchased Motorola and then sold it to Lenovo. So
that was a bad deal there.
It seemed like it. Yeah, I don't know what those patents were worth, but they lost like
only about
$2 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm I don't care. It's Google's money. They can do whatever the heck they want, and they've got
so much
plenty.
money. This is like change to them, right?
Exactly. So
if they think this will help them make better Pixel phones, that's awesome news. I don't want to say like this sounds like the worst thing ever. I just want to know more. Like I want to know what the actual point is. Like I just feel like they're just totally not telling us even half of this story. You paid $1 billion for 2,000 people who are just going to continue doing the same thing they were already doing. Maybe it was costing them tons and tons of money to hire HTC to do it. Like maybe HTC was like, "Oh, you want us to make Pixel phones? It's going to cost you $500 million a year." Like maybe that's what they were charging Google, right? I don't know. But, and so maybe in the long run, it just makes sense for Google to bring, but don't they still have to work at HTC's factory? Like they're still going to have to pay HTC.
It's odd. Tech is amazing in the chat says they flipped in quotes Motorola and made them stronger. Dude, I don't know.
Wait,
he might be reading Forbes again because it's just not. That's not exactly what happened. They if anything, they made them weaker, and they sold them at a loss, a big loss. Yeah. So there's not. Usually, when you try and flip something, you want to make a profit a little bit. They made no such thing.
Yeah, Google bought Motorola for $12.5 billion, and like 2 years later or 3 years, whatever it was, sold them off. They kept patents and sold the rest off for like $2.8 billion, I think. So they lost a lot of money in that deal, and ran Motorola. I don't want to say they personally ran Motorola into the ground, because Motorola was already declining. And I think we thought Google, like with the Moto X, Moto X2, like they were coming back. And while they had some really great ideas, and if you think about like always on displays, like that idea came from Motorola. They did some other things with twist gestures. Like they did some really, really, really innovative stuff with those phones. But those phones also didn't sell. And if those phones had been selling well and Motorola actually was stronger than ever and revived, they wouldn't have sold them, I don't think. Like they saw that this thing was still declining and they weren't about to turn it around, and they just said, screw it, let's sell it. So yeah, no, I don't think it was a good deal, the Motorola one. They own a whole bunch of patents though.
Yeah.
So anyway, this HTC Google thing is it's quite something.
It's evolving. It's still early stages. We have to wait until 2018 for the deal to close anyway. So
yeah, and so who knows? Maybe before that happens, they'll just announce like a full takeover of the division or something, right? Maybe like they're still negotiating and they needed to announce something already. I'm not quite sure. Also the trading halt. You would think that was surrounding like the company being sold. Like, why do we halted trading just to sell some employees to Google? It's just weird, right?
Wow, I think that might just be to stop maybe the insider trading type of stuff they have over there, right? I mean, we're talking about $1 billion being injected into a company, like in cash. So
yeah, that's right. It is $1 billion in cash. Just going to hand them for R&D.
Yeah. Excelsior asks in the chat, don't you love how Apple is claiming all these innovative features for iPhone that have been out on Android for years? Ha ha.
That's a topic, but yeah.
We can talk about that a little later for sure.
Yeah. So anyways, we can move on from that. But Google and HTC made a deal, a cooperation agreement. Google's paying them $1.1 billion for a whole bunch of engineers that worked on Pixel phones to now continue to work on Pixel phones just as Google employees. And HTC now has $1 billion to invest in R&D. That's the basics. We'll let you guys try to figure out what's going on from there, because obviously you and I have no idea.
Yeah. In terms of, I guess if we were comparing what was hyped compared to what actually came, the most boring announcement ever.
Yeah. Yeah. And media like out of Taiwan and everything had been reporting for like a day, like done deal. They're acquiring the smartphone division, all this, and like everyone was so wrong.
So wrong.
Look, I mean, we're wrong from time to time too. I'm just saying, I'm not trying to like trash them. I'm just saying like it was so off. Like this is what they announced: a cooperation. There was no acquisition of anything other than some talent.
Yeah, there was talks of the spin-off of the Vive business,
Yeah,
it's like, oh, so, and none of that happened.
yeah, what a weird deal.
It's totally possible that that could happen, right? I mean, this could just be the beginning, but as far as we know, this is it for
So
now.
Rashad just asked in the chat, isn't it an investment at HTC? It's not. I mean, they don't, Google's not buying any part of HTC. Like they're acquiring talent from HTC and then they're giving them $1 billion for that talent. And so they can also access their intellectual property if they need to. But they didn't like, Google doesn't own any part of HTC according to this agreement. That's what's so weird. They're like, they don't. Like, I guess you could say in general, is it an investment at HTC? Yeah, because HTC says they want to go reinvest that money in R&D and stuff. I just don't know how you do that when you just lost all of your talent.
Yeah, Derek in the chat, he makes a good point. HTC has $1 billion to invest in building out their factories in anticipation of Google acquisition down the road, which could make it more valuable for Google. I definitely see that. Except HTC, they can't necessarily lie to the public, especially about how what they're going to do with the money. And they said they were going to just R&D. Like, I mean, because they're a publicly traded company, so you have to say, okay, if they're just going to put it right back into R&D for Vive or their smartphone stuff, I just don't see how that's really going to be a positive in the long run. But
maybe it's $1 billion to invest in HTC's standalone Android VR headset or something. I have no idea.
Yeah, who knows? We gotta compete with Apple though, man.
Oh, this really lets them. They're just so up there with Apple now. They have to take it serious. They have no excuse anymore because they've been a freaking hardware maker since the early Nexus days. That's another thing I don't get, right? Because we've talked about this off and on the show for over the years, but Google needs to start taking this stuff more serious. Well, what do you mean? Their Nexus devices were Google phones that they designed. They brought in some people from LG to help them build the thing. But top to bottom, they were Google phones. They ran Google software. They got updates from Google. The design was theirs. It said Nexus or whatever. So they've done this forever. I guess I don't understand why Google owning their own factory means they're more serious than ever. Apple uses Foxconn. They don't own their own freaking factory. Like, you can not own the massive manufacturing plant and be serious about phones. Like Google made the Pixel phones last year and told us they're serious. So I'm not sure why everyone has to evolve. Like, why do people think Google's not serious? If you want Google to be serious, then tell them to spend $5 billion on marketing. Then we'll know they're serious.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to own the entire supply chain,
Right.
to be serious about it.
Again, Apple doesn't.
They don't. But people take Apple seriously in the hardware department, so because they spend, $1 trillion on advertising.
Yeah. If Google wants to prove to me that they're that serious, then again, they need to spend like $5 billion a year on advertising, and then I'll know. Because Samsung does it and Apple does it, and that's why they're kings. If Google wants to be serious, that's the move. Not, well, now that they've taken on 2,000 HTC engineers, they have no excuse, Tim. No excuse.
Rashad makes a good point. I saw Pixel marketing more than I've ever seen from them. Totally spot on. Absolutely. Google did get serious.
They just couldn't make enough damn phones.
Yeah, it's just can't make enough. And then also, you have to penetrate a little bit deeper than just sort of like the phone nerds, right? I mean, the iPhone is like cultural, so it's just in the blood of Americans and people across the world. And someone... And Samsung has actually done very well at this. I mean, it's you either got a Samsung phone or an iPhone. So, I mean, if Google really wants to be serious about it, then you got to do better at having the phone ready to be purchased. And,
last year was like really nice step towards towards taking this more serious, right? Like they told us there was advertising everywhere. Like the Pixel phones were actually, I mean, we saw commercials for them nonstop. They had really clever commercials and all that. And then they didn't make enough phones and couldn't. And then they ran into supply issues which again, unless Google's making their own AMOLED displays and doing all this other stuff, which again, Apple doesn't do that either. Google's problem is they're not a big enough player in the hardware game like Samsung and Apple, so they got shoved to the bottom. It sounded like last year when it came to the pieces they needed to make enough phones to sell enough phones. So I think Google is taking this stuff seriously, and we'll probably see it. And I would hope that the manufacturing side of things, they will have ramped up this year. And we saw that by their investment in LG's OLED plant, you know? So like they are doing some things to take this more serious. Tim and I just like clowning all the people whose instant take every time Google does something is, oh, it's serious with Apple now. You got no excuse, Google. And it's like, oh God, shut up. Shut up. It's such a lazy ass take. Here's some breaking news. The Essential phone is now available at Best Buy. Like you can add it to cart and buy it right now. That's a big deal.
Is it available in white?
No.
I don't care then.
Yeah, what did they tell us? That's still like a ways away. Or in that Reddit AMA they did, Essential was like, yeah, no, we're still working on the white. And it's like, really?
That sucks, man. How about in-store pickup? Or is it only online orders?
Looks like only online. Unless the stuff just hasn't, like refreshed.
Right.
Oh, wait.
Huh?
Oh no, it's totally in store.
What? All right. We're gonna have to cut the show.
Lloyd Center Mobile available today, ready in an hour. Clackamas ready. Jansen Beach ready in an hour.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
All of them.
Talk about this later.
Anyway, that's breaking news. Essential phone in Best Buy right now. All right, so moving out of there because we could talk about that for a long time. But in other Google news, it's just been a huge news week for Google. Google Assistant headphones. So Google Assistant powered headphones have been rumored off and on for a few weeks now, and Bose announced that is true. So did Google. They announced it too. But so the Bose Quiet Comfort 35 2 headphones are official. You can buy them now. Speaking of Best Buy, you can buy these now at Best Buy or Bose.com. I'm sure other people will sell them as well. But Quiet Comfort 2 are $350 Bluetooth noise canceling headphones. The original Quiet Comfort 35s were, I would say, very popular. I think well received. And so this is the same version, but with Google Assistant on board and a new little Google Assistant action button back here behind the old left cup. And I'm not going to go buy them, but they sound kind of cool. If you need noise canceling headphones and you like Bose and you have $350 to spend, I don't know why you wouldn't. It also works on iOS as well. It works with the Google app. So you get access to Google Assistant. You can obviously do all the commands and stuff through that. But Google says that it also will read to you who the notifications you have are coming in, who they're from. It'll read full notifications. You can respond to them. You don't have to shout "Okay, Google" all the time, which we kind of laughed about, I think, on last week's episode. So anyway, I think it's a big deal because Google Assistant is just continuing to get included in more stuff, right? Like speakers, now headphones. These are the only ones at the time that do it. But I'd imagine that exclusive won't last forever.
They sound cool, but damn, $350.
$350.
I know it's Bose, that's great, but damn.
Yeah, it's the same price as the previous Quiet Comfort 35, so they didn't jack the price up for the Google Assistant stuff, so that's cool. But yeah, they're expensive, and I have way too many headphones, so I don't need them.
I can't stop thinking about the Essential phone being a Best Buy.
Yeah, this just happened. It just popped up there.
Yeah,
$699.99 in store.
I know we've already talked about this, but just can we just take 10 seconds to remind everyone how awesome the Essential phone is, in person? It's so good. The software is not top notch, and neither is the camera, but those things can be fixed with software updates. But the hardware is
better since the last update. The camera's still whatever, but
it's second to none hardware, dude.
The hardware is nuts. So speaking of that, I mean, we can not to completely change subjects, but since we're talking about this, I did buy 2 skins for this. I think I talked about this on last week's show, and I was like, where are they? They haven't showed up yet. They showed up this week. One was the matte white version. I put that on. It looks so terrible. I ripped it off in the first 20 seconds. I also bought the faux black leather version. Let me get it out of the garbage. It looked okay. The problem with skins is even as much rubbing on the side as I did, it still just had enough of a sharpness to it, and I couldn't get it to go. I mean, I sat for like half an hour the other day just rubbing the crap out of it, and I just couldn't get that edge to go away. So I ripped it back off today, and now I'm back to. And it just didn't. I mean, these like faux leather ones, they're not really that nice, right? So back to old fingerprint guy.
Sucks, dude. You were waiting for those for so long.
I was too. What a waste of money.
Yeah.
Wow, people love skins. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like Wade said in the chat, you need to get the white essential to hide the fingerprints. I know. The white is the one I wanted.
It's never coming, though, so might as well just buy all the blacks.
It seriously is probably never coming. Anyway, so Google Assistant headphones, Bose is making the only ones. You can get them at Best Buy, Bose.com, wherever. $350. I'm sure they're cool. You probably don't need them unless you're like, again, in the market for $350 Bose Bluetooth headphones. In really, I think, cool news, Moto X4, more Google news. Seriously, what a week for Google. I mean, half of the news was not, they didn't want to probably come out yet, but Android One is now here in the US thanks to the Moto X4, which is now sold as an Android One phone that works on Project Fi. So this was rumored by Ev Leaks like quite a while ago, I think. He said that a Moto X4, he said an affordable phone, I think, was coming to Project Fi, and then he was like, yeah, it's the Moto X4, and then he showed a picture of the Android One version. So that's like official. So $400, $399, Moto X4 Android One on Project Fi. You could pre-order it now, and I think it ships like in a couple of weeks. And instead of running Moto's software, which is already pretty much stock with their own suite of stuff on it, like always on display or whatever the hell it's called, active display. Moto display. So that stuff I believe is all gone, and it runs just stock Android, and so it'll get updates from Google. So it's not a Pixel, and obviously Nexus is dead. This is like the closest thing to it. Like if you're in the US and you want a stock Android phone, and by all means, like the hardware of the Moto X4, other than the weird camera thing on the back, looks pretty nice. It's got like this mirrored glass finish and stuff. $400 to get you stock Android with updates, like monthly security patches, regular quick updates. Like this kind of seems like a hell of a buy. Assuming the camera's okay, I don't know. We should have one in-house fairly soon, and we will start testing that. I actually don't even know if I'm allowed to say that, but we'll review one soon. Don't worry.
Yeah, you were talking about updates. The great thing is that, I mean, I don't know why I didn't break this as like some exclusive story, but when they announced the phone for Project Fi, they said, yeah, that not only will this phone be one of the first to get Android Oreo later down the road, but it'll be one of the first to get Android P. Mm-hmm. And it's just been, Google confirms Android P, blah, blah, blah.
Confirmed. So,
Google takes these updates. Everything is about Google taking something seriously, which really pisses me off. But it's a good thing that they're talking about updates, because they realize that people do take that stuff seriously and importantly. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think this is huge news. This phone has, just to recap it briefly, it has a 5.2-inch LCD. It's 1080p, Snapdragon 630 processor, 3 gig RAM, 32 gig storage, dual camera, has a front 16 megapixel camera, 3000 milliamp hour battery. And this is Motorola's IP68 dust and water resistant phone. This is like their first one. So like the overall package here is actually pretty incredible. The only thing, like I said, is the rear camera housing kind of looks like a faux Rolex thing. It's just weird.
It is weird.
You can order this in the blue or the black, so whichever one you prefer, but $400 is not a bad deal for a stock Android phone that gets updates.
Scott makes an awesome point. Android One should be an option on every phone. I've always thought that'd be great. Like if you could just dual boot, but not even dual boot, right? Like say Samsung and their TouchWiz / Grace UI or whatever, and you could have Android One software version be an option, like under developer options, you could just hit that. The phone will wipe itself and just boot up Android One OS. Like, that would be so sick.
Because like Google has to maintain that, right? Like it's their software they push to it.
Sure, like it's not ever gonna happen. It would just be nice.
But it would be cool. In a way, it's kind of like Google Play Edition.
Yeah.
So people have to be on board to want to do that. But I will say though that you have to, I shouldn't assume, but this could mean we'll see lots more of this down the road. Like like this is the first Android One phone to be sold in the US. Like that's its own story. It's also on Project Fi, but like Xiaomi, we talked about last week, like they have an Android One phone now that looks awesome and it's like $200. Like this phone is now Android One. HTC is supposedly working on one, although theirs looks a little bit lower end, but we're seeing more people make them, bigger named manufacturers, and now we have one in the US for the first time. That's a pretty big deal because that means more stock Android options with updates from Google, which is something we've all been asking for. So, like, I don't want to say times are changing because obviously Samsung is still king. LG does sell phones. Not in like really good amounts at this point. I hope that changes for their sake. But we've got Google making Pixel phones that they're taking seriously. We now have a Moto phone with stock Android that's offered updates from Google. You got Andy Rubin making Essential phones, and he plans to update them regularly. That's stock Android. So we're starting to see some more stock Android options, which is fun for us, right? Like that's the stuff we tend to prefer. So anyway, yeah, you can pre-order this thing now. Moto X4 Android One on Project Fi, $399. It arrives a couple weeks.
Yeah, I see this little argument going on in the chat.
Oh,
Joey saying Android One is the new Nexus line. Wade County saying nope, cheaper Google Play edition, not Nexus. I think both of you guys are wrong. Like Android One is part of the next billion initiative that Google has. They're always talking about getting Android into as many people's hands as possible, and Android One makes that doable by having super inexpensive devices with a bare bones Android experience that gets updates straight from Google. So it's all about that.
This phone does not really fit that profile. It's a $400 phone, and it's sold in the US.
Which makes sense to me. Like I'm saying, it's a cool phone. It's great. It's going to be on Project Fi and all that. I don't think it's necessary to have an Android One phone in the US. We already have plenty of other options in that department. So,
well, yeah, I think that's why this phone is a little odd because it kind of goes against for the next billion, right? It's a $400 phone and it's sold here, right? This thing isn't sold anywhere else, is it?
The X4,
the Android One version,
not that I know of.
Right. So that's why it doesn't really fit. Like the initial idea was Android One is for the next billion, and it was sold in like countries that people buy $200 phones, all that stuff, right? This is like not that at all. It's in the US. It's $400. So maybe the Android One motto needs to change a little bit, or I'm not sure. But so I get what they're saying because they're like, look at stock Android updates from Google. But it kind of falls in between there because it's not really a premium phone. It's like
Wade keeps saying it doesn't get updates from Google. He thinks that they're coming specifically from the OEMs and not from Google. That wasn't my understanding of what Android One is. So
they may actually come from the manufacturer. So like it's stock bare bones Android.
But it may not be Google specifically pushing the update, but it's them, sort of tending to the OS.
Yeah, because they're still supposed to get like monthly security patches, I believe, and all of that stuff. I don't know, like obviously we need to learn everything there is about Android One now because we didn't cover it that much before because it wasn't in this damn country. But
this gives us an opportunity to learn everything there is to know about Android One.
How fun.
Yeah.
But I do think he's right in that I don't think they come like directly from Google, but it is untouched Android so that these manufacturers can push it out much, much quicker than they can their own stuff and all of that. So
that makes sense to me.
So anyway, that happened this week, which was fun. On a related note, Project Fi also announced a trade-in program for devices. So when you go to buy a phone, like say this one, they'll give you like credits, then you have to send your phone and then they'll like look it over to make sure it's worth whatever they quoted you. They're also doing a deal right now where if you send in select phones, which phones are they? No, it might just be anything. They're giving like an extra $50 credit for like a short time. It's like a promo they're running. But this is going to launch, this similar trade-in program is going to launch for Google Store as well. And I'm on it right now, and it looks like it's actually live on the Google Store. So if you want to go buy the original Pixel, which you probably shouldn't do right now, you can actually trade in your phone. Oh yeah, it's totally live right now. So it wasn't live the other day. It was just Project 5, and now it's live on the Google Store. So this is one of those things that I think a lot of people wanted, right? Like a lot of people like buying their phone directly from Google, especially the people that buy Pixel or used to buy Nexus. So now there's a trade-in program to make the price a little more reasonable, which is going to be a big deal on the Pixel 2 XL, because it is not a cheap phone. So there is a trade-in program now on the Google Store and Project Fi. I don't know that they're handing out the best prices. Like I ran through it on Project Fi, and it was like $388 for an iPhone 7 Plus, but like a Galaxy S7 was only like worth like $150.
Not the best.
No. And the Nexus 6P was only worth $150, which is what a lot of people might be trading in. And you couldn't trade in Pixel phones just yet, which kind of makes sense because like why would you trade in a Pixel for the current Pixel? That makes sense. Like obviously that should change when the Pixel 2 goes up, but so we don't know how much you'll get for those. So it doesn't look like they're handing out hundreds and hundreds of dollars like Samsung is doing, but it is a trade-in program to help with the price of everything.
Interesting.
So let's see. Oh, Nest. We haven't even touched on Nest yet.
Oh goodness.
So Nest held an event. Was this on Wednesday? I think this was Wednesday. So Nest held an event on Wednesday and announced a whole bunch of stuff. Do you want to talk about everything they announced?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Nest was my jam that day. So a whole lot of new stuff. Yeah, I'll try and run this down as quickly as possible. So first, the big thing is the Nest alarm system, which is called Nest Secure. And it's a package of stuff. It comes with the actual controller for the system called Nest Guard. It's the brains of the operation. And it's got a keypad on it, but then you've got two Nest Detects, which are sensors you can either attach to doors, windows, or place in rooms. And then you also get two Nest Tags, which are these fobs that you place on your keys, which say you come in. Nest Secures trying to say, hey, you better turn me off or I'm going to call the cops. And you just put your little fob close to it. Like you don't have to input the password or anything. Everything's just programmed into the fob. So this package costs $500. It's up for pre-order right now. Goes on sale later this year in November. So that's basically Nest Secure. I guess if you compare it to say something like Brinks or whatever else is out, Xfinity security systems, all that, you don't have to have a team of people come out to your place to install stuff. It'll work with your existing Nest products, like your cameras. It all works through the Nest ecosystem with the app. And the cool thing is that you shouldn't need the team of people. Really, all you need is like 30 minutes of your time. They say that's how long it'll take on average to set it up. It should be pretty easy peasy. So if you want a security system from Nest, $500.
Did they say if there was a monthly fee for it? You know, like if you sign up for like Comcast Home Security or whoever, like there's a monthly fee for it. Did they say for this if it has one?
For the add-ons for it, there is, and I do have that information right.
Because I know like the starter kit or whatever is $500 or whatever, but like, is there an ongoing fee after that? Like for Nest Aware, like if you have cameras, like Nest cameras, like you can pay a monthly fee to get extra features and stuff. Like, did they announce anything like that?
They did. That information is right here on their website that I'm trying to find, just because I want to make sure I give you the correct information. It was there when I was writing this all up.
Like I'm seeing it all, which is cool. Usually there's like a section that says like it's going to cost this much extra. Right. Like sign up for this sweet add-on extra thing.
Yeah, if you're looking for that, then I can keep talking about what they announced. Yeah, it was on like on the I thought it was on the pre-order page where it showed add-ons for each thing, but I'm not seeing it there anymore. I'm just seeing like you can add other tags or
like cameras and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The next thing after Nest Secure, the alarm system is called Nest Hello, and it is a video doorbell, much like we have from other makers on the market with these video doorbells. It acts the same way if someone is coming up to your door. Nest will recognize that, send you alerts. They can chat with you, sort of like a two-way. You can see them; they can't see you, but they can talk. You can know if the UPS man dropped off a package, et cetera, et cetera. You can see it through the application, and it is the way they explain it. It's called Nest Hello, and it can detect a person, then send an alert and a snapshot, even if that person doesn't ring the bell. So that's pretty cool. It can even detect if a dog is barking. So say I have two big dogs who bark anytime someone's near the front door. Nest Hello will pick up on that and then take a snapshot of whatever's going on out front, which is totally awesome. Unfortunately, we don't have a price, and it's not going to be available until next year.
Yeah.
So really lame. Like that's I think the one thing people really were looking forward to is this.
This is the one I want.
Yeah, but we don't really have any good info on it.
It also just says HD video. Is this not a 1080p camera in this thing? They really
just said they didn't. I don't think they've got.
Yeah, I mean, like the page for it, I'm looking at it right now. There's like nothing on it. It just has a picture that says hello, and then it says there's like 3 features listed, and then an email keep me posted thing. There's not specs. Obviously, like you said, there's no price. So
right, all they say is HD, and they specifically mention HD a few times, like HD video, HD talk and listen. So
it's really weak.
It is super weak. And then lastly, certainly not most importantly, is a Nest Cam IQ for outdoors. It's their 4K camera with a 4K sensor that is wireless. It obviously needs a wired power connection, but it's for outdoors. Comes with IP66 weatherproofing, and it's the same like facial recognition, tracking, all this interesting stuff. Nest IQ, $350 freaking dollars up for pre-order, or you can get a 2-pack for $600. Up to you.
And it's wired, and don't they want you to wire it like directly into your power source of your house? Like this isn't like a plug into an outlet kind of thing. Like they want this to be like a legit security camera, I think, which is kind of nuts. So you're gonna have somebody else probably install it for you.
That's what they recommend. They say a Nest Pro installer or whatever.
Yeah, like this isn't just like their Nest outdoor cam where they're like, oh, just run it over here and plug it in somewhere. This is a serious security camera.
$350. I'd hope so.
Yeah. So, yeah, I probably won't be buying that.
I guess the last thing, which is sort of important, they announced Google Assistant, a Google Assistant upgrade for the existing Nest Cam IQ indoor units.
What does that mean?
That's a great question. So once the update rolls out, you can trigger your Cam IQ indoor. And
like it's actually going to be like assistant power. Like it has a microphone. You can say to it the Google command and talk to your camera.
Yeah, you'll be able to ask questions, control your smart home products that are compatible with Google Assistant, as well as manage tasks.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
So that's cool. I mean, it makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. So I'm just looking at doorbell stuff. So like on my front door, I have Video's Doorbell Pro, which is like their slim one that you hardwire into your doorbell. It's 1080p. So if Nest is 720, that's embarrassing. I've had this thing for probably well over a year, or at least a year, and it's done 1080p the whole time. Come on, Nest, get it together. Seriously. And I don't think I really want to drop down from 1080p to 720.
Hey,
come on, Nest.
It's HD. It's all HD, man. What's the big deal?
720p is brutal on the eyes. Stream, because you have to remember, streamed 720p. This isn't just like crisp 720p. This is like streamed. Yikes. That's a lot of stuff, though. The security system, I know that I would have much use for. Like as cool as it is, like, so it'll make a really loud alarm noise in your house. Oh, okay. Like, I always wonder like how that actually alert, like this doesn't alert like the authorities, right? Like it just makes a really loud noise and sends a ping to your app that says like, hey, somebody probably just broke into your house. Like that's it, right?
I think you have to pay for the extra part for them to actually contact police or your neighbors or whatever. Like I think they do offer
that on stuff. Okay. Like their window and door sensors, those things are cool, but
sure.
like a million people make those. Like I think SmartThings has made those for about 5 years now.
They've made this whole system for like 3 years now. So
They have actually.
yeah,
All right.
it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, at least Nest is announcing new products, right? Instead of just rehashing security cameras they bought from Dropcam like 4 years ago. So that's good. Good for them.
Yeah, I mean, Nest says so. I found some info. Customers have the option to add additional monitoring and deterrence by adding Nest cams to their system, which are all controlled from the same Nest app.
So that's not
So
even. They're not really telling us.
doesn't seem like it.
I'm telling you, they're going to upsell you on like a monthly charge. They're totally going to. That's how Nest makes their money now.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move out of Nest. In LG V30 news, where's that? LG V30 news. Still preview unit, by the way. This is not a retail. There are no retail units in the wild, so we won't be reviewing preview units. It launched in Korea this week. Big news. LG V30 can be purchased as of today in South Korea only. We don't know when it's coming to the US. We asked LG this week and they said, soon we'll tell you. So we don't know. I would imagine it's going to be fairly soon. I don't think they'll drag this out too much longer, but I don't know. LG has a pretty rough history when it comes to announcing phones and then not releasing them for months. So
They don't care.
yeah, they're not good at that. I will say that. So we don't really have any new LG V30 news other than it's available in Korea, just not anywhere else. And they told us soon or something like that. Let's see. So you mentioned this earlier, but HTC has a rumored new phone coming. Well, so in their announcement of their cooperation agreement with Google, they said we're working on a new flagship follow-up to the U11, and a report out of France, Frandroid.
Oh, for Android.
They think it's going to be a phone under the code name HTC Ocean Master, and HTC U11 was the HTC Ocean code name, and isn't there some other Ocean phones out there that have come to light?
Yes, there was the Ocean Note, which turned out to be the U Ultra. And then there's said to be the Ocean Smart, but we haven't heard anything about that yet.
Okay. So Ocean phone, and they say why this is interesting is because they think it's, at least their reporting, which was translated from French to English, suggests that it's an all display front. So that could mean HTC potentially ditching that stupid capacitive button setup with the touchpad fingerprint reader on the front, I hope, and maybe going back to on-screen buttons. That would be amazing. They say it's a 6-inch quad HD display at that 18:9 ratio that everyone else is doing now. And then on top of that, it's kind of just a U11, right? Snapdragon 835, 4 to 6 gig RAM, 64 to 128 gig storage, IP68, dust and water resistance, 12 megapixel rear camera. Sort of similar, right?
Pretty darn similar.
Edge sense, all that stuff, yeah. But the fact that it might be an all display front, that's a big deal. Like the HTC U11, one of the big problems was like it just looked like it had a dated design, right? With that stupid button setup. So I'd be down with this. Like the U11 has pretty design. And it runs really well and the camera's great and all that stuff. It just looks pretty dated.
Sounds like a pretty sweet phone to me. If they can stick a fingerprint reader on the back with that kind of metallic glass liquid,
the thing, right?
whatever.
Like, what are they going to do with the fingerprint reader? Because I'm envisioning
maybe put it in the power button on the sides or something. I don't know.
I don't know how they're going to do that.
Sony. Sony does it.
Yeah, not in the US. They strip it in the US.
And well, I mean, you know what I'm talking. You know what I'm saying.
I don't know how they're going to do that because I just like the back of the phones is just this like pure liquid metal looking stuff. If you put a fingerprint reader in the middle of that, it just kind of takes away from all that glory back there.
This phone to me,
fingerprint reader, just
right? What I thought was weird about this phone is that this actually sounds like the Pixel 2 XL that they're describing, because it's pretty much going to have everything here. No headphone jack, Edge Sense, the IP water and dust resistance, Snapdragon 835, edge borderless display. It sounds like a Pixel 2 XL. And if this is the phone that HTC is taking that $1 billion to invest in, or like that, it's just odd, right? And it's out of France.
Yeah, is this the phone they were talking about, do you think? It seems like maybe.
I would think so, just because the way the timing is. They said reported that this is going to be called the U11 Plus,
Right.
but it's hard to say, right?
It is hard to say. Maybe this is it. This will be the last one, and then we'll hit 2018, and Google will just go, "All right, cool. You had your fun, HTC. Now we're just going to buy you and just make stuff for us now."
You had your fun.
All right. And finally, in huge Android news for Pixel and Nexus owners, the system update check for update button that typically does nothing when you hit it will now start doing something. This news just actually came out this morning. So years ago, actually, we looked back in 2013. An Android engineer told us that hammering on the check for updates button, you guys know, you've all done it, does absolutely nothing for the most part, because as updates roll out, they're obviously staged. They start at about 1%, then maybe jump up to 25%, and then 50% of devices who are able to get it. So when you hit that button, you're basically pinging Google, and they're seeing if there's a slot open in that percentage that they're rolling out to. So to get in that 1% early on is almost impossible to do. To maybe get in the 25%, 50%, much more doable. But essentially, you press the button once, and it pings and checks to see. And then after that, if you keep hitting it, it actually does nothing for you. Like, it's worth hitting once a day, probably like at 10 a.m. And that's not worth doing because you're just pinging it for no reason. Anyway, that changes now. In one of the latest versions of Google Play services, that check for update button press is now looked at by Google as a user initiated check. So it actually will let you grab the update. So even if they're at 1% rollout and they're not rolling anything out for anyone for a while, because you are checking yourself, that means you know there's an update or you just want to see if there's one, they'll actually let you do it. Like, it flags it as user initiated action and they will send you an update. That's actually huge news. You know, like we used to joke about people hammering on that button. And then Dan Morill, the Android engineer 2013, that told us we were all idiots for doing that. Like, it kind of took a lot of the fun out of it. Now you can actually go back to hammering on the check for update button. And it'll actually
do something.
like, how often have you hit that button over the years and you've never seen an update?
Well, sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's the actual question, is how many times you actually had an update pop up after hitting that button?
Yeah, it's like so, a 1 out of 1,000 for me, I'd say.
I think so too. Just keep in mind, this probably has nothing to do with like Galaxy S8, LG phones, HTC phones. Like, they all do their own software update system. So theirs is probably still a slow rollout. But Google's now, if you go in and you say, "Oh no, I heard there's an update," and you hit that button and there's one available, they will push it to you. So you don't necessarily have to sideload crap anymore. If there's an update started and you hit that button, there it is.
Scott says he got Android 6 on his Turbo by hitting the button. That's impressive.
Like a Droid Turbo?
Yeah, like a Droid Turbo like 3 years ago.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's nice. I miss the Turbo.
Oh, the Turbo.
It looked cool.
It did look kind of cool. The first one, I liked the first one. I think the second one was the shatterproof one, and it wasn't that fun.
Which one was the red kind of Kevlar one? Was that the first Turbo?
I think they did it with both, actually. But I think the first one was they had one, remember, that had I don't know if the red ever came in Kevlar. The black was, they had the Kevlar because it was all woven. And I remember, like, I took a macro of it that I still like. But the red one, it was more like a shiny weird. It wasn't that cool.
Well, yeah, like there was the nylon, because they called that one the nylon one. But then there was like a Kevlar, like it looks kind of like carbon fiber, but it was red. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, there was a carbon fiber one. That's right.
Okay. Either way, they were hot.
Yeah.
That was like Motorola glory days of hardware, dude. Like they were like machine-esque, kind of droid-esque, like very machine.
Cool.
Yeah, the Verizon Employee Edition, that one was hot.
Right. I used to have all those Verizon Employee Editions. I think they're done with those now.
Yeah, probably.
Used to be a fun little perk if you worked at Verizon, though. Get a limited edition. I remember some of those used to individually number. Like, that's how limited they were.
Yeah, and then people would sell them on eBay for...
Everyone sold them on eBay, I think, yeah.
No one wants that crap.
Times back then, yeah. I think that's all I got. A lot of stuff there. Any other
Oh,
topics to throw out?
I think we got it all. It was a really fun week. Super looking forward to the weekend now.
Yeah, we're
Yes,
still 2
sir.
weeks from Apple's big thing, and probably more coming.
Yeah, nice.
Times. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. We don't have any reviews like on the horizon, so just kind of hanging out. We'll probably be back next week though. There's just so much going on right now. I'm sure next week will be wild too. So thanks for joining us, and yeah, we'll try to catch you next week. We're Droid Life.
Peace.